During my last HPDE event with NASA, we did a drill referred to as Cone Circus. Cone Circus is my favorite drill, and it's not just fast boy cone stuff either. Once you're past the cones, you accelerate to various speeds, high and low speeds, and aggressively apply your brakes. The point of this drill is to calibrate your feet and butt cheeks to the braking threshold of your ABS, or if you don't have ABS, the braking threshold of your tires. But after doing this again, and again, and again, and again, on top of all the other braking I was doing, I started to feel a little bit of brake fade. Nothing serious, but enough to let me know that my brakes were getting hot. And when I took things apart at home, well, let's just say the evidence was there. The factory shim I put on the hawk pads had melted, and all the paint came off the pad backing. They certainly got hot. On top of good pads, fluid, braided steel lines, and a master cylinder brace, I decided it was time to invest in keeping my brakes cooler. And that's what made me pick these bad boys right here, the Ansix Auto front brake cooling ducts. So this video will be a quick walkthrough of why I picked these, the installation process, and some testing. I actually tested these to see if they really did what they say they do. And of course, my thoughts on using them for a track day at Pit Race, which is the fastest track that I have ever been on. So why did I pick these? Well, let's take a look at what other brake cooling systems are out there for these cars. I think by now most of us know about the Verus kit, and I have to say I'm a simp for Verus. I love their stuff. Everything I've ever bought or seen in the wild from Verus has been top notch in quality. But, and this isn't a dig on Verus, their stuff is worth it, they are expensive. I believe these are fairly new from Apexi. I really like these. They look great, simple, and pretty arrows showing me how they work. My issue with these was the price. These are within $150 of the Verus kit, which I consider superior to these. And when I really looked hard, they're just blow molded plastic. I wasn't against them, but I just thought they were a little bit overpriced. And that's when I came across these. These are what we'll be installing in this video. These looked great, some foreshadowing there. But they were simple, had 1-bolt installation, and were priced right. For my skill level and where I want to go with this car, I thought these were perfect. I also noted this claim right here, specifically calling out what I was looking for. We'll see if this is true later. Yeah. This is what I actually received. Yeah. These are not the pretty looking ABS plastic shown on the website. They're 3D printed. You can see there's a texture, there's rivets, there's a shine to the plastic. Very different than what I got. They're also kind of flimsy. Now, that doesn't mean that they're bad. In fact, for a part that's under the car that could easily get whacked by something, you don't want these to be super rigid. They could shatter or break easily. But this is when I thought I was gonna have to title this video, I spent $100 on brake ducts, so you don't have to. The install process is actually pretty easy. You have to cut the brake backing plate obviously, but on these cars, this is the easiest backing plate I've ever removed. On some cars you have to remove the wheel bearing or hub assembly. Not on the GR86. Remove the brakes, 3 bolts, and it falls right off. Another positive for these is that they actually come with directions, like good clear ones. And maybe you can't tell from the picture, but it's pretty clear where to cut the backing plate in these directions. I poorly outline it here, but I promise this is no big deal. The backing plate is super thin and really easy to cut through. And if you're like me, you're probably thinking, why not remove the whole thing? You're thinking race car, airflow, weight reduction, pizza, Carrie Byron from Mythbusters. But don't do that. The backing plate does more than just keep debris out of your brakes. It also shields important stuff like the rubber boots and the ABS sensor from the crazy high heat from the brakes. So now it's time to pop these babies on. The bolt goes through the smallest hole on the control arm closest to the ball joint. I wasn't super pleased with the fitment at first, But once I tightened everything up, the washers bent slightly and centered up evenly with the flat locator tab built into the duct. The nut is a nylon locking nut, but I still added some blue Loctite, just in case. So let's see if we can test them. If you can guess what car-themed movie I got this idea from, leave a comment. Using a leaf blower and some string, I was able to see exactly where these ducts pushed air. And turns out, that string is pointing perfectly at where the center of the rotor would be. And that's what you want, lots of cool air through the veins in the center of the rotor. I mean, for $95, these do exactly what they say they do. This was super hard to film with only 2 hands. So even though the fit and finish was not what I expected, and the fitment made me nervous, they certainly work. Alongside these brake ducts, I also installed some titanium shims, both front and rear. Titanium is a better heat insulator than steel, and this really wasn't to keep anything cooler, but was to extend the life of my calipers. Those rubber boots around the pistons can dry out and crack at super high temperatures. This was the setup I ran at Pit Race during my last HDPE event. Spoiler alert, I graduated up to HPDE 2. I'll have a video on that as soon as I can get back to the track. But Pit Race is fast, very fast, and I was certainly getting faster. In addition, we did the same drill that I showed in the beginning of this video, and this time I felt no change in my brakes. They stayed perfectly consistent the entire time. I would certainly recommend these. I think these are the best bang for your buck in my opinion. Even if they do end up getting broken, you can buy 4.5 sets of these before you could buy the Apexi set. These are not going to give you the same performance as the Veris kit, however. I'm sure that kit works for full-blown race cars, but these are easier to install, cheaper, and you don't have to drive around without a windshield washer reservoir. So if you're out looking for ways to keep your brakes cooler, I hope this video helped. I'll have one soon on HPDE 2, and I've got one more big mod planned for the year. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.